Hi amigos, and welcome into my cocina. I feel like I need to start a new segment called Cooking with Camo Chica or Camo Chica Cooking. But today is another filming day with las tres amigas, and I'm going to make a really fun, easy dish that is a household favorite. If my husband had his way, I would be making this meal like twice a week, but we are going to do an easy sopa de conchitas. In our culture, we do sopa de fideo or pasta shells, which is what we call conchitas. And I'm gonna do like a little semi-homemade because I like to do some shortcuts. So I'm going to show you an easy way as to how you can go ahead and make this, because that's what's going to be lunch for today when Dee Dee and Deline arrive. I'm going to share with you the items that I'm going to be using today to make this sopa de conchas. So these are going to be the ingredients that you want to get. So it's going to be nice and easy and a very fast, easy meal that'll take you like about maybe total of 45 minutes of prep time and cooking time. These are my stapled items of what I'm going to be cooking with today. Of course, you need a measuring cup. I like to use jalapeno salt. I use this for quite a bit of things. My easy shortcut is going to be using this fire roasted can of diced tomatoes with some garlic. You can use any brand, but this is what I like to use. Rather than using fresh tomatoes and onions, this is my easy chica tip to use. You're going to use the caldo sabor de pollo, so you're going to do a chicken flavored bouillon. And I always use avocado seasoning. This just has everything in it. I love it. My conchitas, my pasta shells are in here. Sometimes you can use fideo. This works for whatever you want to do. If you want to use the vermicelli, you can. But today we're going to use pasta shells. And then I cannot live without this. This is a flavored oil. I get this in Grapevine, Texas. You can order it, but this is my Tex-Mex flavor. I also do like lemon pepper, and these are going to be the main things that you're going to be using, and of course water. And you want to make sure you have a nice good sized pot, okay? Because we're going to go ahead and start with browning our shells, and then I'm also going to add some beef. I'm also going to be using some beef, so we're going to brown this. You don't have to make this with beef, but I am going to. Some people like to use chicken. Some people like to use chicken. You can use ground beef. This is just diced up cube beef, and we're going to add that into today's recipe. To season the beef, these are going to be the seasonings I use. I'll use about a tablespoon of lemon pepper, a tablespoon of seasoning salt. You'll want to do like a little bit of onion powder. You can also use garlic powder as well. I have this in my kitchen as well, like Goya sazonado. It's just like an all-purpose kind of seasoning. If I use these two, I don't use this one, or I go very, very light-handed because you don't want it to be too salty, right? But these are going to be the other seasonings that I'm going to use for the beef. As a fun little snack in between our video footage, I have some salsa. This salsa we picked up last year in Albuquerque when we went for Balloon Fiesta. Really good, popular restaurant, El Pinto. Nice, good green peppers and red peppers, if I'm not mistaken. And just some fun little containers to hold your salsa, your little chippy chips, and of course to serve your fideo in. All right, amigos, let's get started. I'm gonna start with my little pasta shells, and I'm going to go ahead and heat up my little Le Creuset pan. You just wanna make something, you wanna make sure that your pot is large enough in order to hold everything, depending on how much you're going to make, right? And I'm gonna use my Tex-Mex olive oil. I love this because it seasons. I use this to season the pasta, and then I use this to season the carne, the meat. And you can use like about a couple of tablespoons. 1, 2. And this is gonna make plenty. So, and then 3. So we've got 3 cups of the pasta shells. Again, you can do the vermicelli, the long vermicelli, the short vermicelli. I like the short, I'm just partial to that one. Now we're gonna go ahead and brown this because you wanna get a little bit of like that toastiness kind of a flavor. What I do is once I pour all of the little pasta shells, I just make sure and stir it up so that this way they all get coated with this Tex-Mex olive oil seasoning. The olive oil is not spicy. It's just going to give it the right amount of pica, just flavor. For somebody who does not eat any spice at all, they are going to feel just a little bit of a zing, just a little bit of a zing. But it's just nice and mild. So I use this olive oil flavoring. I use this olive oil for anytime I make the sopas, anytime I do like shrimp tacos, it's great for that. If you're going to make like carne guisada, especially when you're going to be making Mexican food, this Tex-Mex olive oil is the best. And the only place I have been able to find it at is in Grapevine. So every time we go up to Dallas, we go to Grapevine and I stock up, and these bottles are refillable. So we take these bottles so they can fill them up. I also get like lemon or maybe like lemon pepper. There's different cities that have little olive oil companies, and they just have certain ones that I like as my favorites, and so that's what I end up getting. And it's gonna take a few minutes to brown, so you just wanna keep stirring it so that this way they don't burn, and just stir it every so often. So my pasta shells are nice and coated with the olive oil, and we just want to go ahead and wait for them to get nice and toasted, nice and get a nice little brown color, not burnt, but it's going to give it a nice little flavor. So while this is toasting, it's getting nice and brown. I've lowered the temperature a little bit just so that it doesn't burn, but I'm watching it. So in the meantime, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a tablespoon of the seasoning salt, and I'm just pouring it in a little cup like this. I'm going to get 1 tablespoon of lemon pepper, and then some onion powder. I'm using onion powder because I'm not gonna use like a fresh onion. So you can definitely use a fresh onion if you wanted to, but I'm gonna go ahead and just use some onion powder. All right, so I would do 1/2 tablespoon of onion powder. Let's give this another stir because it's looking nice and brown. We don't want it to burn, the little pasta shells. If you're doing fideo, like the vermicelli, especially the thin one, you really want to monitor it closely because it can burn quickly. So because the pasta shells are having a little bit more texture, they're just like a little bigger, even though they're mini, they you don't have to watch them as much, but they are getting nice and brown and toasty just like I like it. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more, and we will go ahead and set this aside. This seasoning that we're doing here, we're going to use this for the meat. So I already have the seasonings to the side to season the meat. All right, let's give this another stir. Once this finishes toasting, we're going to take the pasta shells out. We're going to set it to the side because then we're going to brown our meat. So we're going to go ahead and just stir up the little seasonings that we have in here, because we want these nice and mixed together for when we season our meat. All right, and plus it's going to help season the broth. See how the shells are getting just nice and brown and toasty? I think these look good. Let's go ahead and put them in a bowl to the side so that this way we can go ahead and work on our meat. And I'm just going to go ahead and start to take these out and set them aside in our little bowl here. Nice and toasted. They don't have to all be toasted, but at least they've still been browned a little bit. And even if for some reason they brown, like they get too brown and they burn a little bit, it's still good. Nothing wrong with a little over toasted pasta shell. My pasta shells are set to the side, but what I want to do in the meantime so that this was ready once our meat is browned is I want to go ahead and take my can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. This is a really just good flavoring because it already has the garlic, it has the tomato. Rather than using like fresh tomato bouillon, this is just a really simple way. If you don't want to go the longer route of using fresh tomato and onion, this is perfect because the fire roasted of the tomatoes is great. So let me go ahead and rinse this off. I have a pet peeve of always rinsing this off. That's my pet peeve, is I always want to make sure that I wipe down the lid of any can, whether it's a soda can or whether it is a can of whatever I'm opening up. I always just like to wipe it down, make sure it doesn't have anything on the lid. Okay, so now that I have this open, what you want to do is you want to use a blender or you want a mixer. I'm just using my little NutriBullet, okay? And I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this can in, easy. simple, amigas. The other thing I love to use fire roasted can of tomatoes for is I will use it like when I make like avocado. There's a really delicious restaurant downtown on the Riverwalk. Our city is known for the Riverwalk, and they are known for their delicious avocado, and they'll use fire roasted tomatoes that they've roasted themselves. But again, chica tip, I cheat and I drain all the juice out of a can of fire roast. You can use any kind, any brand, and I drain all the juice out, and then I'll add the tomatoes into my avocado, some red onion, some lemon, and a squeeze of orange. I need to make that recipe for you guys. And now we're just gonna mix. All right, está listo, it's ready. So we're gonna keep this aside. Now let's brown our meat. I've gone ahead and put the meat here in my skillet, and then I've gone ahead and used 2 tablespoons of our little prepped seasoning with the seasoned salt and the onion powder and lemon pepper. And we've seasoned the meat so that this way the extra seasoning will also help our broth. So we just want to make sure that we brown this. I've got it on high heat right now, and we're going to brown our meat. So again, it's your preference if you want to do diced cube meat like this, or if you want to use ground beef and add in some papitas, some potatoes. It's all up to you. I just like to make it simple. I like to make this simple and just keep it with the meat, with whatever I have, but I prefer the little small diced cube meat. Okay, so we're gonna give it a stir. We already have our can of fire roasted tomatoes prepped, because that is going to be used instead of using like a tomato bouillon. We are going to use that instead, and it's going to give it the flavoring because it's got the garlic. You can add extra garlic if you want, whether it's onion powder, whether it's garlic powder, or like you have already the fresh kind of like diced garlic. I always keep like a big jar of that, especially when you go to Sam's. But it's browning up nicely, and it's seasoned. This is a great meal to make for company. My husband, I tell you, my husband would love it if I made this twice a week. He absolutely, absolutely loves it. And you can control how much broth you want in here. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of this, not too much, but just a little bit, since we've already used all of that other seasoning. Let's give it another good stir. You can see that it's already starting to get some nice juices here from our little carnita that's browning. It's looking really, really good. Now that the meat has browned quite a good amount, let's go ahead and add in our can of tomato, and we're gonna add the full amount. We're gonna add the whole thing. And I don't want to waste this, so I'm gonna add water. And I just give it a good shake to get all of what's left on here, because we're going to use this. All right, let's stir this up. It's looking good, looking good. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and add in our chicken bouillon. So you want to go ahead and add the chicken bouillon in. And let's do 2 tablespoons. 1, I'm gonna do 2. And that's because we did 3 cups of your pasta shells, and we're going to add quite a bit of water. So I'm gonna mix that in. All right, so now let's add in back our pasta shells. And let's add our water. You can make this as brothy as you want, but you want to make sure that you are, you want to taste it. So we're going to do at least 5 cups. So here is 1.5. So see, that's why I'm using the leftovers of the tomato that was left on here. So we want to add in more of our water. So we've got 1.5 in. Here's 3. 4.5, and then like 5. We'll just add the rest in for measure. So you want to add in at least a good 5 to 6 cups of water. Okay, so we're gonna stir all of this in. So you can see all of this nicely stirred. You can see the broth. And so we're gonna wanna make sure that you just mix it all up. And I like it brothy. So some people actually like to have it more dry. My husband used to always eat this very, very dry. So you just wanna stir it up nicely and make sure everything is combined. And of course, we always do a little taste test. We always do a little taste test because this is when you can see if you need to add more water. I'm gonna want to add another. I'm gonna add another cup and a half. I'm adding another cup and a half of water to it, just to balance out because of the tomato, since we used a whole can. And I'm gonna go ahead and cover this, and we're going to let it cook for 20 minutes. We're going to set this for 20 minutes to cook on low heat.
Let myself in.
Yep.
Don't shoot me.
Okay, it is nice and done, my little sopa. Let's go and pour it. And I actually have Miss Dee Dee here. She has arrived.
Hello.
Yes. So we're just gonna pour some nice extra broth in here. Just an easy, homemade, very traditional for our culture, as you can see here. So let me pour 2 bowls, one for her, one for me. We're waiting for Miss Deline. She's caught in traffic. We have a lot of construction going on in our city. So we're gonna go ahead and get started and have a little bit to eat since we are hungry. Right. And now for our little taste test. And look who we have. We have Miss Dee Dee. We have our taste tester.
It's delicious.
And we do a little bit of bread, yes, because sometimes we dunk the bread into the little sopa.
I did that earlier.
Yes. Okay, so taste test. Just a little bit of nice sopita with a little bit of meat. You want to get a nice, good little bite, spoonful bite. The flavors that are in the can of the fire roasted garlic diced tomatoes is perfect. You don't really need to add a lot because that can of tomatoes already has everything. So that's your chica tip to make it nice and easy, and just use whatever favorite seasonings you have, like to season the meat. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, and we hope to catch you in our Tres Amigas Table Talks. Bye, amigos.
Bye.
Are you
Bye.